Level 1. The Hungry Soldier. The cannon fire hasn't stopped in 3 days. You are 24 years old, and you smell like smoke and wet wool, and you haven't slept more than 2 hours at a stretch. Your boots are wrong for this terrain. Your accent marks you as an outsider the moment you open your mouth. You are a Corsican in a French army, and the French officers above you make sure you feel it. In the assignments they give you, in the way they look past you at dinner, in the silence that follows when you offer a tactical suggestion. You offer them anyway. That's the thing about you. You cannot stop. You study while other officers drink. You read Plutarch, Caesar, Frederick the Great. You fill notebooks with formations, supply chain calculations, artillery angles. You are not waiting for someone to hand you an opportunity. You are building the architecture of one. You understand something that the comfortable men above you do not. This world is not fixed. It is made of pressure points and moments. You just have to find them. You are poor. You send money home to your mother in Ayacho and eat less so your younger siblings can eat more. There is no safety net. No family name with weight in Paris. No patron. Nothing but the notebooks and the mathematics and the unbearable, grinding certainty that you were made for something larger than this. At Toulon, they give you command of the artillery because no one else wants the job. The position has already chewed through 2 officers. The siege is failing. The British are dug in. The Republic is watching. You spend 48 hours without sleep redesigning the entire approach. You take the hill. Toulon falls. And something shifts. Not outside. Inside. You understand now. The system rewards results. Nothing else. Not birth. Not accent. Not manners. Results. You are a general at 24. The game has begun. Level 2. The Operator. Italy, 1796. They give you an army that is starving. 30,000 men with no boots, no pay, no morale, and a supply line that barely functions. Your fellow generals in Paris have real armies, fed, funded, rested. You have a problem. You turn the problem into a weapon. You tell your men, the rich plains of Italy are ahead. Everything you need is there. We move fast, and we take it. No waiting. No slow marches. Speed is our supply chain. The enemy cannot prepare for what they cannot predict. You cover ground that military doctrine says is impossible. You cross the Alps at angles the Austrian commanders never modeled. You win at Montanat, Millesimo, or Cole. You win in ways that don't fit the existing vocabulary of war, so your enemies keep misreading you. In 14 months, you force Austria to the table. You negotiate the peace yourself. Without authorization from Paris. You rewrite borders. You redistribute territories. You create client states. You are a 27-year-old general acting with the authority of a head of state because you have the leverage to do it and because no one is willing to tell you to stop. Paris watches. Paris is uneasy. Paris is also aware that you have just delivered them northern Italy. You send back art, sculptures, paintings, centuries of accumulated wealth. You understand what tribute means. You understand what it signals. Back in Paris, you walk into rooms and everything changes. The conversations change. The posture of people changes. You are not yet at the top of anything, but everyone can feel the direction of your motion. You study the political situation the way you studied artillery trajectories. The Directory, the 5 men nominally governing France, is weak, corrupt, unpopular, surviving only because no faction is organized enough to replace them. You file that away. You are not ready, but you are getting ready. Level 3, The Architect. Egypt, 1798. This campaign is not what it appears to be. Yes, it is military. Yes, you want to threaten British trade routes and establish a French presence in the eastern Mediterranean. But Egypt is also a calculation. You bring 167 scientists, artists, and scholars with you. You bring a printing press. You are not just conquering. You are performing conquest in a way that will be studied, written about, remembered. You understand something about power that most soldiers never grasp. Narrative is infrastructure. At the Battle of the Pyramids, you tell your men, 40 centuries of history look down on you. You do not say it because it is inspiring. You say it because you know it will be repeated. You are always writing the account. The campaign itself is brutal. The heat, the disease, the British destroying your fleet at Abu Qir Bay. You are stranded in Africa with no naval support. The Syrian campaign stalls outside Acre. Men die in enormous numbers from plague. You write none of this into the dispatches you send to Paris. You write victories. You write grandeur. You construct the public version of events with the same precision you use to construct a battle plan. You understand that perception and reality run on parallel tracks, and that controlling perception is a form of control. When you leave Egypt, ahead of the army, slipping away in the night with a small group, you do not call it abandonment. You call it strategic repositioning. You leave General Kleber in command without telling him you are leaving. You arrive in France a hero. The army you left behind will eventually surrender to the British. By then, you are already first consul. Level 4, the first consul. November 9th, 1799. The coup. They call it 18 Brumaire. History will debate how messy it was. You know how messy it was. You walked into the council of 500 and they surrounded you, screaming, grabbing at your uniform. Your brother Lucien was the one who saved it, calling in the troops, clearing the hall. You stood there, briefly, looking shaken. A moment of visible fear. You do not discuss that moment. You are first consul now, one of 3. But within months, the structure is clear. The other 2 consuls are decoration. You work 16 hours a day. You dictate letters while being dressed. You hold simultaneous conversations on different topics. You read at extraordinary speed. You have a memory for names, numbers, maps, and faces that borders on categorization. You create the Bank of France. You negotiate the Concordat with the Pope, ending a decade of revolutionary conflict with the Church. You reform the legal code from the ground up, the Napoleonic Code, 2,281 articles, civil equality, property rights, religious tolerance, the abolition of feudal privilege. You are building a state from raw materials. You do not sleep 8 hours. You do not take weekends. You do not understand why anyone would. People around you begin to notice something. You do not really listen to counsel anymore. You hear it. You process it. But the decision is already made somewhere inside you before they finish speaking. You have concluded that your judgment is, statistically, more reliable than the collective judgment of your advisors. This is sometimes true. That is the problem. Level 5, the Emperor. December 2nd, 1804. Notre Dame. You take the crown from the Pope's hands, and you place it on your own head. The gesture is deliberate. It means, I answer to no one. Not to Rome. Not to tradition. Not to the old dynasties. Not to God's intermediaries. You answer to results. The room understands. Europe does not know what to do with you. You are not a king by bloodline. You are a king by force of will and military outcome. The old monarchies find this destabilizing in ways that go beyond politics. It attacks the logic their entire systems are built on. If you can become emperor, then what is hereditary power? What is divine right? They form coalition after coalition to destroy you. You destroy the coalitions. Austerlitz, 1805. Jena, 1806. Friedland, 1807. You rewrite the map of Europe 3 times in 4 years. You install your brothers on foreign thrones. You marry into the Habsburg dynasty to secure legitimacy. You father a son, the King of Rome, and you stare at the infant with an expression your staff will later describe as something between joy and calculation. Your empire stretches from Spain to the borders of Russia. Inside it, something has changed. You begin to believe that the rules that apply to other men do not apply to you. Not arrogance, exactly. Something colder. Evidence-based exemption. Because so far, the evidence supports it. You stop asking certain questions. You stop wondering whether certain decisions are right. You wonder only whether they are executable. Level 6. The Architect of Consequences. The Continental System, 1806. You close every European port under your control to British goods. You will strangle the British economy through economic isolation. Every nation on the continent must comply. Portugal refuses. You invade Portugal. Spain becomes unstable in the aftermath. You place your brother Joseph on the Spanish throne. Spain erupts. The Peninsular War begins. It will last 6 years and consume 300,000 French soldiers, and it will never fully resolve. It is a war without front lines, fought in villages, in ambushes, in methods your army was not designed to address. The Spanish call it guerrilla, little war. You call it a wound that won't close. You are now managing an empire too large to supervise. Your marshals operate semi-independently. Your brothers are incompetent rulers who write you desperate letters. Your police minister Fouché runs intelligence networks you only partially control. Your foreign minister Talleyrand smiles at you, and you understand, somewhere below full consciousness, that he has already begun calculating what comes after you. You still win battles. Your tactical genius has not left you. But the thing that made you great, the ability to concentrate force at the decisive point, cannot be applied to an insurgency in Spain and a diplomatic problem in Austria, and a restless Poland and a British Navy that controls the seas. You cannot be in all the places that need you. For the first time, the system is larger than your reach. Level 7, The Long Winter. June 24, 1812. You crossed the Niemen River into Russia. 600,000 men. The largest army ever assembled in European history. The Russians do not fight. They retreat. They burn their own crops and villages as they go. You advance deeper into a continent-sized trap, chasing an enemy that refuses to let you destroy them on your terms. You take Smolensk. You take Moscow. Moscow is empty. The Russians have abandoned it and set it on fire. You sit in the Kremlin for 35 days waiting for a peace offer that does not come. October. You order the retreat. What happens next does not have a clean military vocabulary. It is not a defeat in battle. It is an annihilation by winter, by starvation, by exhaustion, by Cossack raids on the flanks. Men freeze. Men simply stop and sit down in the snow and do not get up. You watch it. You ride alongside it. You are there. You arrive back in Paris with fewer than 100,000 men who can still fight. You immediately begin raising a new army. Your advisors are frightened. Not of the enemy. Of you. Of the gap between what you believe is still possible and what the actual numbers say. You have never learned to stop. You do not know how to perform that calculation. The coalitions form again. This time with different energy. They have seen the retreat from Moscow. They know you can bleed. Level 8. The Island. St. Helena, 1815. The island is 47 square miles of rock in the South Atlantic, 1,200 miles from the nearest coastline. The British chose it specifically because of that. You wake every morning to the sound of the ocean and the knowledge that there are British warships patrolling the perimeter. Governor Hudson Lowe reads your mail. He monitors your movements. He restricts who can visit. You are the most surveilled prisoner in the world, and you will remain so until you die. You are 50 years old, and your health is deteriorating. The damp, the isolation, the loss of motion that defined your entire life. You dictate your memoirs. This is the last campaign, the one fought entirely in language. You construct the version of Napoleon you want history to receive. You edit the Egyptian disaster. You reframe Waterloo. You position yourself as the heir of the revolution, the defender of the principles of 1789, the man who modernized Europe while the old dynasties tried to destroy him. You are, in some ways, your most skilled general now. The battle is for the archive. Some days you sit and look at maps. Old maps. Maps of campaigns that no longer exist. The empires you built have been dismantled. Your son in Vienna is being raised as an Austrian prince and will never rule anything. The men who surrounded you are scattered. Some defected. Some are dead. Some are comfortable in the new order, having made their arrangements with the right people at the right time. Talleyrand is advising the restored Bourbon king. You had always known what Talleyrand was. Knowing didn't help. What you understand now, at the end of the hierarchy, at the level beyond which there is no further level, is that the system was never fully yours. You shaped it. You accelerated it. You were, for 15 years, its dominant force. But it continued without you. The Napoleonic Code still governs. The Bank of France still operates. The administrative structures you built still function. The ideas moved through you and kept moving. You were not the origin. You were a concentration point. The ocean doesn't change for you. It was there before and will be there after. You close the map. You do not sleep.